Welcome to the Neil Haley Show on the ProVision Brokerage Celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome to the program my co-host, Eric Couch. Eric, how are you? Our guest today, I'm just a huge fan of. I love them and a ton of different projects. But again, he's a funny guy too. So go ahead and introduce our guest.
Okay, so today's guest he's wore a lot of hats, right? He's worked at a meat packing place. He's been a bouncer. He's been an ordained minister. He's a producer, a father, a comedian, an actor. He's won a Golden Globe Award. He's won 2 Golden Globe Awards, actually, among other things. And a lot of people know him as the guy in a scene that's telling him, who does number 2 work for? And you show him who's boss. So today we are talking with none other than Tom Arnold. So Tom, welcome to the show. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. And as I was getting ready, this is a little microcosm of my life here. Sasha, who lives here with the kids and my assistant, because of COVID, we're all quarantined, and we're all, we also do a podcast. Right. Not as big of a deal as yours, but we do it because we're all quarantined. And my kids, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a single 61-year-old father with a 7-year-old and a 4.5-year-old daughter. And I have, their bedrooms are wonderful. I work so hard on their bedrooms, Murphy beds. My daughter loves unicorns. My son loves elves. They're a bunch of dolls. Whatever. I've designed them, and they still sleep in my room. But last night, my daughter, since Sasha's here, Sasha sleeps on the couch. When I tell people that, they're like, "You're a monster." And then it either goes that way, or Sasha's 30. She's very cute. They're like, "Well, what's going on there?" And I go, "Well, it's professional." And then they go, "Well, of course. Oh, wait. She's 30, you're 61. Of course it's professional." And I go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, I'm not dead. But anyway, so Sasha, my daughter and Sasha have bonded. And my daughter started sleeping in her room last night. This is how it goes. Then my son, I was getting ready. My son was in bed. "Come on, Dad, take your shower, go to bed. I'm tired." So I go in the shower. Then my son gets in bed with my daughter in her room, which is very cute because he imitates me. He's curling up. So then there's nobody in Dad's bed, it's never happened. I'm so excited. And then I look out, I'm getting ready. I'm taking my time in the bathroom. And I look, and I think the lights are off. I think Sasha has left the couch, and my bed's big. It would be totally I'm like, oh, so she's moved into my bed. There's plenty of room. And I told her, you can always sleep in there. And I see her, and it's fine. And then I think it's Sasha. And then when I come out, I see I get close, and I realize, oh, that's my son Jax. I imagined it was Sasha. I can't really see well. And anyway, and then by the time I totally finish my shower, both kids are back in there, and I have to crawl in between them and not wake them up with a little flashlight in my mouth, again, just like I do every night. And just now, Sasha was in there, and she said, "When did both kids get out of that bed?" I said, "When I was finishing my shower." By that time, they were both back in there. I said, "You won't believe it. I thought you were actually in there for a while." And then I got up close, it was Jack. She said, "Oh, I was." And I just thought, how you imagine people, you just go, well, that's good. It has to be Sasha. They're in bed, and it actually was. So, when you're older, you just start, if you look out, anyway, it's funny.
Well, Tom,
you guys are welcome to sleep in my bed anytime you're in an elevator.
Now, see, that's funny when you talk about that, Tom, about the chaos of quarantine. None of my kids sleep in their beds anymore because of quarantine, because there's no organization or order. School teaches them how to stay organized.
That's right.
Go to different, it's just been, summer for 6 months,
Right. Yeah. And since Jax is starting first grade Zoom, the 18th of August. Quinn has been in preschool, and last year, when their mom moved out there, she insisted the schools be by her place, which meant the kids and I had to drive 4 days a week, quite a drive. but we got a real regimented. Our life was we had to get up at 6:15, up and at 'em, and then downstairs. And my son would wander back upstairs, and it was really hard to get him back down. So what I did was I get him downstairs. I bring the clothes with him. I make him the egg sandwiches, and then at a certain time, because my son, I said, we're not making your sister late. They go to different schools. I go, here's the clothes. I'm going to strip your clothes off you, or you're going to be naked in the car. Because not making your little sister late for school. And that's, or I'm taking all the food. I bring a tray, and what ended up happening is his homework. I go, oh yeah. Okay, let me see your homework. Okay, and it's always about filling in right. Practicing. And there are times, I have to admit, when I would have to be in a front seat, like filling in stuff. And his school is a great school, but it's the moms driving to school. These moms are like NASCAR. I have to tell you, they're very nice. But getting that on Sunset Boulevard, man, and these are people that you end up, because they will not, they smile like, hi, can I cut in? No, they will, they know what, some of these moms have 3 schools to get to.
Right.
They don't care about me. And if I take my eyes off the ball, if I'm like chit-chatting with my kids and miss a light or don't cut in at the right place, it's over. I'll be late. And if you're 1 minute late for this school, they have a drop-off. They pull the person out there, and then you have to park and do the walk of shame. And the walk of shame means I have to get out of my car with my daughter, who school starts later, and go into the principal's office and sign a slip, and then they have to bring another kid down to walk my son into kindergarten. That's what last year. He loves it, but it's like we race to get in that line before they do the
I know the whole line thing. Yeah.
I've traded fate with some of those moms, but it's a great thing that when the Zoom happened, as getting some kids will focus. Mm-hmm. Some also, I'm not doing the preschool at all for my daughter. She'll, next year when she gets in pre-K, that's a real deal. The preschool she was in was like a daycare center, a $40,000 daycare center. I'm not doing that. We do a lot of wonderful things here. Dallas, we do art. We do fantastic learning things. My son needs to. We build a school right over here, classroom. He needs to bear down as much as possible, but we're going to do the best we can. We live right across the street from a wonderful public elementary, and we'll get to that, but we're going to do our best in this Zoom. And you're right, there is no time, no day, no week, but we do have a schedule here.
Oh, good.
And I grew up on a farm. I have 4 younger brothers. Believe me, my dad had a freaking schedule. That means when the sun comes up, you boys are out there.
Right.
And you boys are out there. And we never got allowance. I don't even know what allowance is. And my kids, we drive out to a farm about 40 miles outside of town here, and we pay money so my kids could pick corn and strawberries and beans, and they love it. And I can't even believe, because we used to get on buses with drifters and drive 30 miles from our house and get in cornfields for $1.40 an hour, and they come back and nobody thought it was anything. We loved it. And my dad, we used to bale hay all day, and that's just what we did.
Right.
And then we were 18. My dad put our stuff in a box and said, "You're out." And then we paid our way through college. And he was a great guy. That's just what you had to do. There were 7 kids, and you just you didn't assume anything was going to be. Now my youngest, I was oldest of 7. My youngest sister and brother, they got their way paid. But the oldest kids, because there was nothing. My dad was a single father for 10 years. That you just but I know this. There's always a way to figure it out. I worked on the kill floor of a meatpacking plant for 3 years to save money for college. Now I don't want my kids to have to do that, but as you know, that's anything else is gravy, right? So anyway, enough about me.
All right, now Eric has a question, but it's great to hear all this family background, and Eric's liking this, to hear the stories of what a celebrity deals with in quarantine. So there you go. What we're like, I have stories where I guess when my kids don't sleep in their rooms, and I have 6 kids, Tom. So I know, and I'm at my mom's house because my office at home, forget about it. That won't be back. I won't be back in that office till those kids are back to school. And that, and,
Right.
and I don't. We're hoping it'll be not virtual, but I don't know. But all right, go ahead, Eric.
So, one of the questions that I wanted to talk, which we've already actually gone into, but one of the things that blew me away years ago, before you even had, so your son's older, right? Son and then the daughter.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you were what, 55 years old when they were born? 54, and you lost 100 pounds because you wanted to be around to be a dad for them.
Yeah.
Tell me about that journey, because that's a lot of people struggle with that, but to do that, to say, you know what, I'm going to be a dad, and this is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always said I wanted to be a dad, and when I was working at Hormel at the meatpacking plant, my girlfriend, who was still in high school, I was 18, and she thought she was pregnant, and I was like, well, that's it. I'm going to be a dad. And I also thought, well, that's how people work here. My grandpa had worked there 50 years. We're Jewish, and we're from a small town in Iowa. There's only 4 Jewish families, and I worked at a pork processing plant. And that's just what we did. And some people were in the garment business, but you did that was the best job in town. It was a good job. And I knew I wanted to do something different, not because I was Jewish, but I wanted to do something outside of this. And there are people that loved working there because they loved it, and there were couples. And I was like, how could I love working here? And my girlfriend said she was going to have pregnant. I was like, well, that's how you do it. You have a family. And you go, I worked here and I have a family. And I always wanted a family. And then it turned out she was not telling the truth. And then I was like, after I had to go tell her dad this big 6'7" farmer who from Missouri who wanted to kill me. And then it turned, but I thought, I was also relieved because I said, whoa, I was close to working here forever. There's something outside of here. But I think about what kind of dad I would have been then. My dad was 18 when he had me. He did his best. My mom was 16 and she was gone. So my dad, when he was 22, he had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. Now, he did a sterling job. I had 2 grandmothers who were like mothers and who were just on me, just so much love. My one grandmother was, she ironed my dad's underwear until he got out of high school. That's who she was. And she was, I didn't miss out on anything. She was amazing. And my other grandmother loved everything I did. And you can always tell when people want to be around kids. Right. Kids tell it. They're like, this person enjoys me. And so I got a lot of love. But the father I would have been at 18, I was a crazy person, and fighting and getting arrested and drinking. And so when I said I wanted to be a father, and the moment my son was born, I did want to be a father. But it changes everything. People are like, what's it like?
Everything.
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 It's like, what is God to you? And I go, you cannot put, well, that's what it's like. Looking at your son, looking at your child, you go, oh, in that instant, it's everything, and you realize you are nothing. And you realize everything is now, there's no BS, there's no show business, it's this, and this is what you do, and you got to be on top of it. And so everything you say after this, and now it's also frightening because now you have to be not just omnipresent. I mean, now you are important because this is your job, and you have to look out for this child. And I remember when I was cutting the cord, I was, you know, he wrapped his fingers around the scissors, and I kind of almost just for a second almost cut his fingers off, and I took a breath because I was like, oh, that is it just, you know, I don't know if I almost, but he got his fingers around the scissors. I was like, I'm gonna feel like that every day. Like that is so scary. Everything that could possibly happen, you know, that's what everything feels like. Like he kind of grabbed onto, and I'm just like, oh, that is every moment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna worry about everything. Like this is everything is new, because I was just so happy, and I was like, oh no, I gotta be on point. And I did. I can't be. I got very, you know, because I gained weight during the pregnancy, but I gained weight. I was so nervous. I'd had 23 with my various wives in vitros, and it failed. And doing the in vitro process was not something I wanted to do. It was at a very low sperm count, and I told all my wives, all four, I said, let's not do that, because that's on your body. It's hard on their bodies. I said, let's get a donor. And because I believe that adoption, one of my personal belief is that there are these children, and if you're looking for them, and they're looking for you, and however they get to you, they're your children. And I believe that because maybe the way I grew up. And so, you know, plus, and this is true, and I say this, Shaquille O'Neal was my next door neighbor the whole time he played for the Lakers.
Wow.
And he
Really?
yeah, for 8 years, literally next door. He's a great guy. And I told my second wife, I said, listen, that guy makes beautiful children. He's a great guy. You know, when I grew up in Iowa, if you wanted to borrow a cup of sugar from your next door neighbor, knock on their door and said, Mark, I said, it's time to get a cup of Shaq. Like, I was serious. Like, but you do think like, how I don't want my wives to suffer, because it is, and it's also something that works for a little bit sometimes, and then it doesn't. It's so disappointing. It's so hard on a marriage, and but all three of my first ex-wives tried it. Roseanne, Julie, Shelby, and then at the end of the marriage, we tried adoption, which each adoption got to a point where we had this child you could have, and this child, and it was funny, we went to this adoption lawyer who my friend Sharon Stoner recommended, and adoption can take a long time, which is good, and he was like, I get this baby for you in 45 minutes, and they have a little picture of this little beautiful newborn baby. There's a 15-year-old had this baby in Wisconsin. It could be yours. And you look at that baby. This really happened. It happened with Roseanne, and where you look at that baby and you think, okay, the in vitro thing was so stressful that you could see why our marriage was stressed out, and having a baby the natural way, you know, they bring that baby into the world with a marriage, with a stressed out marriage. Yeah, that's, you know, everything. But this baby here has options. And that's why Roseanne and I like, does our marriage, do we deserve this baby? That's what you really ask us. Look at that baby. Are we good enough for that baby? And that's when we said, no, we got to get a divorce, because we're not good enough for that. We're not going to bring that baby into this. And so that we got a divorce. And then Roseanne had a baby the natural way with her next husband, which I was so grateful for. In fact, all three of my ex-wives did, and I was relieved. You know, I was relieved because, you know, I want them to be happy. Right. I know, you know, that everything worked. You know, you just want people to move on and be happy, and make sure that you know, everything works after you're out of there. Yeah. So I was very relieved. So with my fourth wife, I didn't want to do it this way, and then And then she insisted, and hey, Sonny, and then just got very. Hey, Jaxie.
I finally know what the slime does.
Okay, hold on.
AC.
Okay. We got a dog. We've finally adopted. We've been trying to adopt for this wonderful rescue, and they checked out our house. They checked out us, and last night we went and picked up our puppy, and I tell the kids just like what Jackson's mom and I left the house one day, and it was the two of us, and we came back and we had Jax, and it was first night he was like laying, and we didn't know what to do. And there he was. And then a couple years later, his mom and I went to the hospital, and I came back and got Jax. And I have this video where I took him down to the hospital, and we got his sister. Do you remember that, son? Yeah. And then last night, as we were driving out to the foster family to get the dog, I said, well, now, it's you and I are leaving, and then it's like, how many people are in the, they got an argument about how many different people. He thinks the dog in his mom's house is part of the, anyway, but it's like that, so remember, we never had a dog together here, and the dog's like such a big deal. We're so excited. So anyway, got very lucky on this one, and so I lost 100 pounds, and but now we're all working on this, and, but being healthy, is and got to be alive for these kids, right, Sonny?
And I'm gonna summarize this and go right back to Eric with another question, because I could ask 1,000 questions, but Eric has more than that. But you got to really, you're seeing a side of Tom Arnold that some people don't see, and I'm glad that on the Neil Haley show today we're getting to see that, because there's not enough positive things going on right now. We're not getting that positive news, and what you do as a father and how you sacrificed and said, hey, now it's time, and we're seeing your family life, that's really cool. So go ahead, Eric, with the next question.
So yeah, and I just acknowledge that as well. I'm a father of 2, and we've got a son who's about to be 17 and a daughter who's 15 now. And I mean, from the moment they were born, it was just, this is what I waited for. Right. And it changes your life forever. And, I tell people, I was like, look, you don't want to rush into it, but once it happens, everything's different, but it's so much better. And you had even, referenced where it changes your perception of life. It changes your perception of the direction you're going. It changes your perception of God, because you look at your child and you're like, they're like, when they mess up, you finally understand. It's like, no, there's nothing you can do that would make me love you any less.
That's right.
Like literally, I love you with every being in my core.
Zero.
Yeah. And it's like, but when you're before that, you can go, how could a God love me? But then when you become a father, you're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It changes.
When we talk about that a lot, they ask me about God, and because we're Jewish, so, sister asked me now, what about Jesus? And I say, well, Jesus was a great man. He was Jewish, and I say, because God, God, and I said, by the way, you were with God, and then just like I was, and then your mom was. I grew up here, and I was born. I was looking for you guys. We knew the whole thing, and then your mom was born. She was looking for you guys, and then we met so we could find you guys. So we got Jackson and the three of us, and then his sisters always say, well, what happens when you die, Dad? I said, well, I'll always be here. That's why we'll always be here, because I said, God, I do this whole thing because because I really mean it. By the way, I mean it 100. There's no question. And to me, if any questions when child's born, you look at the child's eyes and you go, oh, that's God, right? Like a lot of people are saying, well, what is, I say, well, it's love, and it's every time I look at my son's eyes, my daughter's, well, that's, so there's no, everybody can believe what they want to believe, and we're Reformed Jews, we believe, Jesus was one of the greatest men that ever lived. That's what but to live in Jesus' way is the way to live. everything you read about Jesus, every scripture, the greatest man, and of course, he's the Son of God because we all are. And as I said, I am like Jesus. I want to live up to his and read everything you can about him. The way he lived his life is the way to live life. Now God is here in our house, and that's why, and that's why no matter what, we'll always be together. Your grandfathers will be together, and it's not that you get a mansion in heaven, but this is heaven. Anyway, I'll bring it in, Sonny. I'll bring it in. Okay.
I'm loving this, but you know why? Because this has happened to me when I was at my
house.
Oh,
God, I do.
Absolutely.
So this has happened to me where I'm on radio and I'm doing this and they're screaming and I'm turning down the mic the whole time. Like, okay, you know how you turn the mixer down so no one hears you, and I have it on mute and they're screaming and yelling. I'm like, okay, now I can ask my next question. So don't worry. We love seeing. I think what I love is that do people really know this Tom Arnold that we're seeing right now in this?
Yeah.
Like your fans and stuff. Do they know that Tom Arnold, or even people that just know who he like of the movies and everything? This side of you is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's who I am. I don't, if somebody said, well, you have to convince people you're something else. Well, I don't have time to do that. Also we're living in a people say a divided time in the country. And I think I look at everything like, I'm a father. This is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about this. This is what I could do. I try to make the country better. I'm a very proud American. Yeah. I'm very proud. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. I have certain obligations as a citizen, and I'm not afraid of anybody or anything. I need to make the country and the world as good as I can for my children's future. And, sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in. And I have different ways of doing that. And, but this is who I am. I also will answer every question my kids have. We also celebrate Christmas hard here. The blow-ups we do them at all the, of all of our neighbors in our last house were, obviously they're Jewish, but a lot of people from Iran and but we blow it up. And Santa Claus we celebrate every holiday that is food and fun related. My son collects, he has a shed full of Christmas ornaments. Now that's a different, Santa is just good. And between us, Hanukkah has no good songs. And we celebrate Hanukkah, but it's not as fun. But Christmas, the spirit of Christmas is such a great spirit. And we celebrate right after Halloween. We start putting up lights. There's actually Christmas lights in the back here. But it's something that's kept me and the kids. We've gone through some dark times. The kids went through a divorce, and they were living in the house with me, and it was got a little I know from being a child of divorce, they needed something that was consistent and they could hold on to, and Christmas. Who doesn't love Christmas and the stories of Christmas? And my son captured Santa coming, and he captured on his video stuff, and the Christmas, and then the elves, and the Christmas elves. There's books about it and what they do, and the reindeers, and every night, and we just built this collection because the stories are so good. And then figure out how Santa gets to all the places, how they started studying geography and space travel, and the world, and Amazon does. Somehow Amazon gets to all these places, and we ended up recreating the moon landing, the 50th anniversary last summer with their drones. They met Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin because they were out in Pasadena on the day of the 50th anniversary. When I was a kid, that was a huge day And for my
Oh,
kids,
yeah.
that we put up on social media, part of it, but to recreate the actual. And Michael Collins told my son how it was to fly the. My kids make some pretty awesome. They're smarter than I for sure than I was their age. And technically, how he had to land and also that camera drone. It flies over our neighbor. We have I have some very cute neighbors, and I'm single. Anyway, they fly over their places, but so to recreate that, have these guys. My kids have no idea that these are the guys.
Yeah.
That it is, but the science of what kind of rocks to land on, and then how long we literally at the 50th anniversary recreated. And to me, that was we do stuff like that. But the Christmas thing, we do it. We have 4 Christmas trees. One's up already. We have the stockings. They do. Some have the Stars of David. And but it's the spirit of Christmas, of celebration, of what Santa Claus represents. And I don't even know. It's just this of giving and being of service. I have a very famous heart camp, the biggest heart camp in America for kids with heart defects. And from day one, my kids have, and Arnold Schwarzenegger and I, my son loves him. We give out 10,000 Christmas gifts to kids. That's Arnold. I don't know why we're cowboys. We have a thing called After School All Stars, and we give out 10,000 Christmas gifts every Christmas to kids, and a lot of it's early gift, and it's a terrible shame that a kid. How can that be?
Yeah.
How is that? And the kids have to get their only Christmas gifts from Arnold Schwarzenegger and me for the last 25 years I've been doing it, but we have to change something. But Arnold was the first guy that came into the delivery room. I mean, if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, apparently you can walk into a delivery room.
Probably.
He held Jax, and Jax, has gone to his house, and my kids have learned, by watching movies and seeing Arnold when he was Conan, and then they were like, why is he younger? Why is he old now? Why is that the same person? Right. Not through mine, because I don't say watch my movies, but through my friends, like, how does that work? And how is somebody's face, get stuck by a bee, and then, and so we've rebuilt, I showed them prosthetics, and because or Dad, why do you have a family in this movie? And, and so through this kind of stuff, and my son has a giant poster of Arnold in his bedroom, not of Tom Arnold, but of this guy.
Cool.
But that they're real people.
Yeah.
Who then say, well, this is a real job we do, and a makeup person does this. And my daughter's very interested in that, and then my son's interested in the technology of the camera technology, the new technology, how it's all on a board and stuff I never learned. So a couple guys are you on your iPad you could do crazy stuff. So you learn stuff, and but we make the most of every day.
Well, it sounds
you do have to have rules, and we live in a very nice family neighborhood right now where everyone looks out for each other. We got a fireman that just retired a couple doors down. Everyone knows who we are here. This is the first time ever. We do have a good security system, and a little we aren't like out. Everybody would go out and we walk on everybody knows we're part of the neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
We have a lady across the street, the older lady. She's probably not that much older than me. She's in charge of it, and the incidents we have had where mom has shown up and whatever, the neighbors all come out. They walk their dogs at the same time, so it calms it down, and they love the kids. And you don't. Where we lived before in Beverly Hills, and we're not that far from Beverly Hills, but we had gates that were so high that we didn't even know the neighbors.
Oh.
So it was here is such a good feeling, and because of COVID, a lot of the moms can't go to Soul Cycle. So there's groups of moms that walk by every day and they're like, Tom, you got to join us. And I'm like, yeah, I will. They're really, like the single moms. And, but I feel like I need to get in shape before I start exercising with them.
Right.
They're in such good shape, like for real. Like, so anyway, they're very nice people. And life is good.
Now, Tom, tell us about the podcast, and then Eric has a legacy question after that.
Okay, the podcast. Well, Sasha Boggs, who started working. I had a bit of a scare in February. A part of his stress, and I caught a virus that we've been talking about. I didn't know I hadn't got my flu shot either. I've been running the kids around, and the kid's mom had been. We weren't sure where she was, and we just moved out of our house and moved into a guest house even farther away. So school was, and then I believe my ex-father-in-law had got sick, and I didn't have the details, and then mom showed up to take them to Arizona, and I'm like, oh, and my lawyer said, well, you have to let her because dad is sick, and it just didn't feel right, but anyway, I put him in her car. The next day, I'm at that guest house. I'm feeling. I usually get myself calmed down. I work a program, but my breathing was a little. I didn't panic. Like usually, I calm myself down and go to sleep. But this night, I thought I probably shouldn't go to sleep. And so I thought I'll drive myself to UCLA, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just call an ambulance. Because when you're dad, you do have responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like I did the way I lived as a single or a young man, or, before I had kids was like, let's see what happens. But I called an ambulance and got in. And then by the time I got in, the next day I had a massive organ failure.
Oh, no.
And so I was on an ECMO machine, which is heart, lung, and my kidneys shut down, and I was on a ventilator, and by the grace of God, and the fact that my heart camp is most of the people are at UCLA, and I know so many people. I'm also a bone marrow donor, and they know what's inside of my body. I just had a heart stress test. They have the inner workings of my body they're very familiar with, and all these great cardiologists are there. Hi, honey. But they came to my rescue, and I once I came to, I said, what happened? They said, well, this is what happened. I said, what are these machines? And well, this is the ECMO. These. I said, well, how do I get these machines off of me? Because the people actually that were working on me were like, your life is never gonna, they thought I was gonna die, of course, first, and then it's changed forever. There's no more, I got the idea that you're never gonna be able to be with the kids by yourself. It's gonna be, you're gonna go from here to a rehab facility. You're gonna be slow. You aren't gonna be able to exercise or walk around. And I was like, well, that won't do. And then my friends who are these great cardiologists and know me very well, they came down and said, there's no way that you are such a bad patient. We don't want you around this hospital. You're going to give us a bad name. We're going to help you. And I said, what numbers do I have to hit to get this? Because all the numbers are on there. They check out, they said, here's the numbers you have to hit to get off this machine, that machine, and that machine. And every day I worked on, I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then every day when the experts of the lung person, the heart person, I improved, and they would be surprised. And then one machine at a time, I got them off. And I ended up walking out of there after 2 weeks, which is shocking. I went home, we got a place to, me and the kids, we got the kids back, which was a funny story. And but I got them back, and I had a nurse for a couple of days, and I know everybody says this is a miracle, but it was a miracle. And, you know, I got it back, and then I, you know, have, you know, I'm at UCLA because I'm part of a study, and but I'm always there because they always
Right.
do stuff. So I got to lose some weight, but you know, and I tell you, the first few times I got on the elliptical, I was like, you know, this is a little, but you know, it came back. I'm better than I was before,
That's great.
because before I really let myself, you know, just getting so run down, and I never worked out. Because I was always like, the kids would always come in like, Dad, and I realized, oh, I quit doing that because it was always like running around or this, and then the kids, you know, it's really on me for not going, I need to do this for me. You're going to have to sit there for a minute, you know? And so, because the way we live now, everybody's active. And so, but you know, you know, I'm very grateful. You know.
And then the
So anyway, so I came out. I said, I need an assistant, somebody that'll just run her, you know. And this young lady said, and my friends, she was recommended by Sharon Stone, her family, and then my old assistant who left me for Shonda Rhimes. She's like, yeah, I really like working here, and I love kids, but I have an opportunity to work for Shonda Rhimes, who's a legitimate big producer. And she met her. She worked at a store, like a kids' clothing store, and she said, and for her first day, she said, I'll do all the crappy jobs, because I had somebody else or two. I'll run all the errands. I'll do all the crappy jobs. I was like, that, because nobody says that in this town. Let me tell you that.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to do. And I just kind of watched that. She worked. She was a comic and an actress. I knew she'd worked hard to come out here. And then I said, you're going to stay on. I don't need all these people. As soon as we move into a house, we moved into this house. Thank God I found the perfect house with a little back house, a small house, 2 bathrooms with kids. 2 is all, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Oh my God. And, but this guest house thing is office and the kids' classroom and an art room. And we moved in the day the mayor shut that. The mayor, by the way, of LA, Eric Garcetti, got married in my house, where I know him and the governor very well, and he's doing a great job. But I said, when are you shutting the town down? He goes, Monday. I go, I am. So the trucks came in the morning, dumped all my stuff from a big house here. And so I had to figure out, what am I going to keep? What am I donating right now? You know how it feels good to get rid of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been getting rid of stuff, trunks of stuff. And then we got in this place. It felt good. And then, you know, I saw that she would be working long hours, to drive to Koreatown, which is unsafe with Sasha, I'm talking about how you got here, with a roommate, this guy, nice guy, an actor, but he didn't let her, it was a studio apartment, right? Yeah. And like, there's one parking place and he wouldn't let her park. Like, she had to go out on the street, and she'd leave here after dark during COVID. I was like, well, that's not, and I talk to her parents all the time in North Carolina. They're actually younger than me. And I was like, if I had a daughter and she was working, I'd be freaking out. So one time she's very tired, she said, do you mind if I sleep on the couch? And I go, of course I don't mind. I tell Rosa, who works here too, you always sleep on the couch. Everybody can always, and then I was like, you gotta always sleep on the couch, anytime. And so then she started doing, it's insane. First of all, that guy, I'm gonna go down there and talk to that guy that will lay sleep on. And then my kids went there one time, they're like, yeah, it's bad. And so anyway, then she started being her, and then I said, did you have a podcast? I started paying attention to her work. Very funny comic. I said, let's do a podcast in between all this stuff about this. I'd love to do something creative. And so we just started doing it for nobody. You're like, put it up. How do you put up on the iTunes or something? And then these people contacted us from a real podcast company, network.
Yeah.
And we really want to do it. And nobody's really adding to their stable of shows right now, which is, I said, why do you want to do it? I don't want to just do it. They said, we like the chemistry. It's unusual because she's from such a different generation. You guys talk about everything. And so we do that. And then, you know, it's good. It's good. We have a lot. We literally talk about everything. She's very open. And then we go back and do our work, and then we're going to taking the kids to a cabin in Big Bear down tomorrow for some vacation with no air conditioning. You know.
All right. And what's the podcast name? And then
it's called Two in the Bush. Like
Two in the Bush.
Say one in the hand, which she Two in the Bush. Which were you not for? She went for me. It's a dumb name. Why do we have that name?
You didn't like anything else.
I didn't like anything else. But we always. There's a million things she hasn't heard of. I'll give you one. She goes. We're talking about favorite celebrity couples. She goes. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar, because they've aged. They've aged the way they've aged. And I go, what? Well, they haven't had any work done. And the way they've aged. I go, the way they've aged. And then I said, Freddie Prinze, dad, he was a comic. He's a great comic. She goes, yeah, I've heard some things about it. I go, no, he was a great. And she had very vague memory of Freddie Prinze Sr. Like, he was the best comic. Do you remember when he would be on Johnny Carson? It's like Johnny Carson. And then her friend told me on this other show, Joe Rogan is like the Johnny Carson of our generation. I'm like, are you kidding me? No one is like Johnny Carson. I just started screaming.
That's great.
Anyway.
Definitely need to check that out. Tom, I've been blown away. Eric has the final question, and it relates exactly to our interview the whole time. So go ahead, Eric.
Well, and actually, I'm going to switch it up. So I always talk about living a legacy, right? And really, today's whole session is about, you're living a legacy, and that your kids, right?
Yeah.
And if there's something you'd like to add to that, I'd love to hear. But I think the question now, kind of flip-flop it would be, you're a writer, you're a producer, you're a stand-up comedian, you're an actor. Apparently you've been friends with Michael Jackson because you both caught on fire.
I've had dinner with him. Yes, that's it.
And Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Bernie Mac and all these people. So if as a writer, as a producer, as an actor, as a comedian, if you could write a scene and pick one actor, who would you, and maybe we narrow it down to someone you've acted with before, but that's up to you. What would you think would be just a really funny scene to write about? And who would you pick?
A funny scene from my life, or just a funny scene?
Just as a writer, comedian.
A funny scene. I don't know if you know who this is, but Maggie Gyllenhaal is a really great actress. And I'd done a movie called Happy Endings with her that was a really great. And she played my girlfriend. She was younger, and my son was Jason Ritter, who the beloved John Ritter, who's a friend, who is his son. And I loved working with her. She's so good. And she's Jake Gyllenhaal's sister. I like him a lot too. Anyway, we were on our way to New York to this film festival, and we were sitting in the front row of first class. And Daniel Day-Lewis is the actor that all actors look up to as the greatest actor. He played Lincoln. He played all these great. Daniel Day-Lewis. He's an actor's actor. And when he hits a role, we're told he becomes that person. You can't talk to him because he's in that character. And so we're in the front row, and then all of a sudden we see Daniel Day-Lewis walk by us. And Maggie's always like super cool because she knows all the actors, and she's in the act, but she's very funny and nice. And I'm like, okay, is that Daniel Day-Lewis? She's like, is that Daniel Day-Lewis? I'm like, yeah, okay, he's sitting back. Okay, he's in the last row, first class behind. So I go, okay, here's the deal. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Plane takes off. Here's our plan. I am going to go up and above him. I'm going to pretend that our stuff is above her, right above him in the overhead, and then we'll work our way. And then I'll need you to help me with it. You get up, help me, and then that's when we'll both go, "Oh, it's Sandy Lewis."
Oh wait!
But it was the craziest. I'm like up above him, and I'm like, "Oh, Maggie, what's your person like?" And it was so bad acting between her and I. And then he's like, "Oh, Hello, Tom Arnold. It's so nice to meet you. Oh, it's Maggie Gyllenhaal. Like he was just like a normal person, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were so obviously stalking him out. Like, oh, Maggie was your I mean, it was the nicest thing.
Crazy to see you here.
Yeah, and we were so bad. And then, of course, we stayed there and just hung out. But he wasn't. He was just being like a human. We thought,
Yeah.
oh, he's a character for. I forget what he was doing, what project. He's gonna be a character. So we just want to be able to say hi and not break his, because he's a method actor.
Yeah.
Here's our whole plan. He's just sitting there with his wife. Oh, hi guys. But the assumption was, okay, we got to do this. We're gonna be super cool. And but that's just how. But that would be, something like that where you assume one thing and hey, I'm gonna give you another quick moment. Hugh Grant and I were making this movie with Robin Williams called 9 Months, and we were up in San Francisco. And Jeff Goldblum, do you know who Jeff Goldblum is?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was in it with us, and Jeff Goldblum is so cool. But we got flown by Hugh and I, Jeff Goldblum, got in a helicopter because Aerosmith was playing, and we had a break. We had a couple days off. We flew to this giant outdoor concert. Giant, like Jeff has written about it in his book. There's like 80,000 people outdoors. Great concert. And Aerosmith, I've known those guys since they got sober in the 80s. Very nice guys.
Yeah.
And Jeff said something about, oh well, I'd like to meet them, and I said, well, I'll make sure you do. After the show, we'll go up and I'll introduce you. I was like, Hugh, yeah, Jeff wants to meet Aerosmith. I know them. Hugh Grant. I will introduce him, like being cool.
Yeah.
And then it was towards the end, and I was like, hey, well, and I was like, because in the movie, Hugh Grant and I were best friends, and Jeff Goldblum was sort of my enemy. He was married to my sister, he was a jerk. So you kind of play off that a little bit. And then I was like, you know what, Hugh, it was getting towards the end of the concert. I was like, where's Gold? Let's just leave Goldblum. Let's go get in the helicopter. He's getting on our nerves. And then, where is he? And then all of a sudden, he's supposed to be here. I said, he can find his own way back to San Francisco. And then he was like, I know where he is. And I go, where? And he's on stage he was playing piano. Somehow the guy that I was going to honor him by introducing him had somehow been invited to play with Aerosmith. It was just one of those moments like, oh, this is, where I was like, I'm going to be cool enough to maybe introduce you to my friends. Somehow they invited him on stage. He plays piano. And then I was like, oh no, now we have to stay because our friend is in Aerosmith suddenly. And so it turned around pretty quick, but that's how God works. You think you're cool and you're going to pull a shenanigan like leaving him there. And then he's suddenly, and he is sort of that. When he got up and he was like, hey guy, he gives a shout out. I got to give a shout out to my friends. I don't know. That's it. That's always funny.
Those losers down there that are watching me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Tom, you have a website. Where's the best place we can connect with
That sounds fun.
Where can we go? Where's
Okay.
the best place to go, Tom?
Yeah.
Well, it's two in the bush. Like and subscribe on Spotify and iTunes, and watch on YouTube. Sasha just handed me this. Sasha,
You're awesome.
I forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Great story.
Thanks,
I
Tom.
appreciate you stopping
Thank
by.
you guys very much.
And we're going to definitely have
I
to come back
appreciate you.
on again another time when you want to promote some other project.
Thank
All right, sounds good? All right.
Absolutely.
I take
Thank
care
you
of this.
very much.
All right, see
Thank
you.
you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was
Okay,
Neil
thank
Haley Show,
you.
guys. Take care.